All right, and then another, I would say mistake that people do, could be mistake, could be not, I think you will tell us, is we notice, let's say something is amiss, and from this case we said it's the behavior, not the person. Like you don't see a person from, let's say, a particular place or a particular race, and then you profile them as a terrorist. The behavior. Now, most of us tend to post this on social media. Is that recommended? Because at the end of the day, I also want to imagine that these people, the terrorists, are also on social media. So once we post some of these things, of course, there will be a lot that, oh, okay, we've been exposed in this way, let's do something different. So posting such, incidences where there's some level of suspicion and all that, posting them on social media, is that like the biggest mistake someone can ever do?
I know currently there is an issue of, there's a cyber crime bill that was signed in the other day. So when you post anything on social media, once you send it, it doesn't come out easily. And the information you disseminate there, it has repercussions. It could cause, one, it can be a point of causing panic, which now we end up, if you're asked to authenticate, can you authenticate the information that you sent out there? So if it was wrong, now it becomes a problem. You have already now done what? Sent a wrong message. Then should it be right, then is it, which account are you using? Is it a personal account? Is it a government account? Or who are you speaking on behalf? Because now that would again change a lot of concepts. And that's what I would suggest, and I would actually again advise that before you put anything on a social media, it is always good to find the source, especially. Because for your case, you might think it is a terrorist act. And then maybe this person, just because you saw they bought some few chemicals here and there, because you didn't verify, maybe this person is a scientist. In your house. So even if they bring the security officers there, they'll check and they are authenticated. This is what I'm doing. The manual here, did the person take time to come and check through here? So again, it is exposes you. So I'd say anything that goes to the social media, it has to be authenticated. And especially now, because of the panic. And remember, if it is a certain area, you might not be there, but your family is there. So when you're told there is a terror in your house, or someone is a terrorist within your neighborhood, and maybe you're far off, so what happens? You will not even concentrate on what you're doing. Your mind comes back there. So I'd say anything that has to go to the media, then it is the right to use the proper channels. Then once it is authenticated and you're given a green light, then you can do what? You can
go ahead and post.
You can post it.
Okay. Now, we know terror can happen anywhere, anytime, but of course there's some places that are mostly targeted. So what are some of those? Can we just talk about some of those? What are some of these places that are mostly targeted by terrorists, and why?
Well, I'll classify this and say we have maybe two sides. You have international terrorism and there is domestic terrorism. And we have different we have different groups in terms of the even terrorists. So that's where you hear there is Al-Qaeda, there is Al-Shabaab, there is ISIS. And then, of course, there are those small groups where you could talk about agro-terrorism, eccentric terrorism. These, remember, at the end of the day, they have an objective. So what is the objective? Is it political? Is it social? Is it ideological? What's the objective behind it? No. In case where you're talking of domestic, if I come down to the domestic, which are maybe the ones will be easier for maybe for most of us we are interested to learn, is it? Domestically, you find we have some groups of radicalization. And this radicalization, it doesn't have to be necessarily a certain religion group, because we have for the longest time, you could have had the terrorism peg on the Muslim. But if you look at real as a religion, that is not what they follow. It's not a terrorism. So it's just a small sect of group. They have their own objective, which comes about the radicalization. And that's why it's not necessarily you find it is on Muslim. You're finding Christian who are. You'll find people who do not even believe. They are atheists. They are Buddhist. So again, let's say it's a small group. Now, what they target is it depends on where what they want to cause. One, they always love recognition. Yes, because for me to radicalize and tell you, you know what, to motivate you to join us, I have to sell you a certain story or a certain idea for you to join me, to join my group. And I tell you, what you have been following, it is not the right way. So you need to follow my path, which is the right path. But of course, this right path is not the right path.
True.
Then that's where we find there some points they are targeting what, like the government buildings, because when you target the government building, it is showing maybe a little bit of weakness in the government. That's showing the security part of it, it is weakened. And in a country where whenever you weaken the security aspect, it makes the citizen or they feel they're not safe. So that causes panic.
True.
So whenever you panic, it says you'll be a weakened state, you know? And that is why you find maybe they want to target a place like that. Then, of course, there are other places where there are soft targets. Churches, schools. And you just want to cause a mass, because the idea at the end of the day, they want a mass killing.
Sure.
So that they can go to the international, viewership. And of course, at some point where now some point media will be right to go and record there and you're airing live. That is really helping them to push the message as well.
Okay.
So that's why at some point you would be told it's not right for you just to go and throw off, you know, start broadcasting the information again. It has to have a sort of... The other thing is they maybe want to hit the responders. So some point they will come and have, for example, explosions. They will have a primary explosion, which will draw in masses. Now you have drawn who, the specialists, medical team, the fire team, the police, the media people. And of course, like here, we find in Kenya mostly, in Melbourne, what I've found is whenever you have an incident, instead of people, when they hear there's an incident, instead of them going the other way,
they
usually
go where the incident
convert to the scene.
Yeah.
And you ask someone, what do you want to come and what is your responsibility at this incident? Just watching, witnessing, taking selfies, you know, which is a problem. So once you have this mass, now there is a second or the secondary explosion.
Okay.
So that's what's going to now kill who?
The responders.
It's going to affect now this mass. So that's how, those are some of the techniques that is usually used. And now that you could find, you have different even injuries patterns when you have that kind of an incident.
Okay.
So whatever they target, again, it is dependent on what is the cost they're having. You know, and mostly because they want to achieve the mass killing. So that they want to target the populated areas. If it's a populated, that's why they do surveillance. At what particular moment is this place crowded? Like the CBD, what time is this crowded? Rush hours, when people are coming to work, or the people when they're going back home. So you find at some point, you find a crowded area. Hotels, what time is it crowded? Is it lunch hours? Is what, you know, all those patterns. In school, of course, you're going to be having people. They will not attack that school when people are there, you know, students are not there. They've closed schools. So they want to come when you're active. So that again, they have to choose a certain weapon to effect,
for a
you know,
particular
for a
target.
particular kind. For the weapon, even they choose depending with the target as well. So it's not all, and that's why I say we have different types of the weapons that are used.
Okay.